Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wilson, while you're talking, we'll just keep going here. About this time last year, the Department of Defense released a cyber strategy where it was highlighted the need to conduct cyberspace operations. It's very intriguing to me, and specifically to determine and to make sure that we are able to maintain our U.S. military advantage, and at the same time to defend our national interest. And an interesting quote, and also, quote, to prepare military and cyber capabilities to be used in the event of a crisis or conflict. Those three areas are extremely important to me, and I know in my own district, Fort Gordon, the Cyber Center of Excellence resides there, and they're very much involved in all three of these areas. Obviously, without going into classified information, but would you be able to share some of the specific actions that the department has taken in light of that cyber strategy to just some insight on how things are going to protect our infrastructure?
Absolutely. So in August of last year, the Secretary Mattis at the time signed out the DoD cyber strategy. Some very core missions, number one being the ability to operate DoD joint force, so kinetic forces alongside all the other forces in a cyber contested environment, to be able to build resiliency into our joint force. That was priority one from Secretary Mattis's perspective. In addition, we wanted to be able to bring cyber effects operations, defensive and offensive, alongside our normal kinetic operations. And so we've been hard at work at doing that. We've worked with Congress, with authorities to be able to execute in that arena. We do some really good work in the area of hostilities. In competition with the revisionist powers, we've seen that they're operating below our normal traditional response mechanisms, and so we've been very focused on that. So the strategy addresses that. Down at Fort Gordon, they're doing some great work, Lieutenant General Fogarty and team, in terms of, that's the R-Cyber, the Army Cyber team. They're focused right now in CENTCOM Theater, AFRICOM Theater, the Africa Command, doing some fantastic work. When it comes to critical infrastructure, there was a recognition that the Department of Defense had a role. And I think if you had asked us maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it wasn't as clear. We brought a strategy forward called Defend Forward. We focus in the department, just like we do in any other domain of operations, on external threats to the nation. And so in cyberspace, we do the same thing. So we focus on those external threats. We want to be able to see those threats, understand those threats, see indications and warnings if there's attack on critical infrastructure for the nation or DoD forces or allies. And we want to be postured and prepared to be able to respond to those attacks, preferably in a preemptive fashion if needed, versus waiting to take a strike and then have to be on.
Well, would you believe that? How are we doing is kind of what I want to know. Are we prepared offensively? Are we prepared defensively? Are we prepared in the event of a crisis here? I mean, where are we on these three areas? On a scale of 1 to 10, I mean, are we?
So it depends on which category, and it's best done in a classified setting, but I maybe just put a backdrop behind it. We're making tremendous progress. Over the last year, we've executed operations which we've briefed in the Armed Services updates, and we're getting ready to do one here shortly, across several different mission types, and so that's going very well on the offensive side. On the defensive side, we're building tremendous resiliency in the force. We have a long way to go. So if you're talking about the network, we have tremendous activity going on endpoint security, zero trust environments, and the team is doing really good work. We also have activity going on associated with weapon systems to make them more resilient. And then we're beginning to look at defensive cyber effects operations broadly to be able to mitigate risk to the best of our ability.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I don't have time to get in the next question, so I'll go ahead and yield back. Thank you.